Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I want to remind everyone that I will be on Hogarth's channel tonight along with Lady G, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And I want to wish everyone a happy early Easter. So for those of you that celebrate, I hope you have a wonderful Sunday with your family and friends. And for everyone else, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I saw that after putting my angel video, the angel class that I offer on my website, that I got hundreds of new members. And so if you haven't checked it out, go to my website, dianeaquarius.com, scroll down to the bottom, and you can take the first class. And what I wanted to do, just in the spirit of Easter and new beginnings, I want to give away a free membership, and it'll be for the top tier. And I would really like it to go to someone that maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to be a member. So in the comments below this video and this video only, don't email me anything because it won't go into the drawing. Just put, free membership. You do have to have a PayPal account. Even I can't get around that. And for those of you who have been having a difficult time signing into membership, joining, because you have Apple products, YouTube is fixing that. So by next week, if you have an iPad, iPhone, whatever, you'll be able to sign in. So that is exciting. So I asked all of you to give me some questions. And once again, did you deliver? I thought I would start with the one about Mary Magdalene, because I think that is just so appropriate to this time of year. And before I get too far, the 3-card pull at the end of this video is going to be about timing. I'm using Radley Valentine's Angel Answers cards. And this would be for any of you who are wondering, when am I getting the new car? When am I getting a promotion? When am I finding Mr. Right or Miss Right or that sort of thing? When am I moving? Anything to do with timing. So that's at the end. So Sarah asked me, will we discover the missing fragments of Mary Magdalene's gospel? And does the Vatican have it? Well, as you all know, I've been a military remote viewer, and you don't always know what the coordinates are, right? You just get the coordinates, but you don't know what they are. You just get sent on your mission and you do your job. And so I'm not going to get into specific details because I can't. They're not missing. And yes, they're exactly where you think they are. And, one of the things that I wanted to bring up about Mary Magdalene, because I'd seen there was a few other questions about Mary Magdalene, and the way I choose the questions is based on how many likes they get, because that tells me this is what all of you are interested in. And so, Mary Magdalene was never considered a prostitute in the Bible. There's no mention of that. What happened was there was some random prostitute in the book of Luke. And for those of you who don't know, I am an ordained lay minister. And there was some random prostitute in the book of Luke that washed Jesus's feet. And I guess Pope Gregory the Great, in all of his wisdom in the 6th century, in a sermon, called her, basically a prostitute in so many words. And that's how it stuck. So there's nothing in scripture that says that she is. Matter of fact, she comes from a small fishing village called Magdalene, which is in Galilee. And she comes from a good family even. So it's not like she was some destitute, broken down woman. That was a very male interpretation. But now let's take a look at, are we going to actually get our eyes on these things? Okay, on these missing fragments. Are we going to actually be able to see them? Let me tune in. Because some of you have said, there does need to be a balancing of the divine male and the divine, a card jumped out, and the divine female archetype. And that would certainly help to balance it, wouldn't it? So let me get the card when I'm done shuffling. Oh, interesting. The card that jumps out is the Sun card, the card of enlightenment, illumination. Okay, new beginnings, purity. The horse is white to show purity. The baby's new beginnings. The sun's coming out. You do see clearly in the sunlight, don't you? It's the opposite of the moonlight. Let's see what the other cards have to say. The obstacle is, I think that this has caused a lot of brokenheartedness, right? I mean, because it's really set women back. So it's sort of like those in power in the church are saying, well, I mean, if a female was going to be close to Jesus, then surely she was this terrible human being. And it really helped to justify in their eyes some of the inequalities and injustices that were brought upon women century after century. When, we know that she was not a prostitute. But look, the Vatican has decisions to make. Okay, the Vatican's world is changing, isn't it? The way they used to do things is just no longer working. Things have changed. Times have changed. And I think sometimes they don't quite know what to do. So they're, the powers that be at the Vatican, they want to go to smoother waters, but they can't seem to get away from this. It's not going anywhere. And then the next card is they're trying to walk away. Like they're trying to get away from this. Like they just want this issue to just go away. But then look, here's the Queen of Swords. So the women step up and they say, look, we want to know. We want to read this. We want to see her book. Because don't forget, the women in the Bible do have their own books, right? We just haven't been privy to them. They were removed from the Bible or never even added in some cases. So I feel optimistic. Now, were any of those cards fast moving? Not a one. Okay. So it's one of those things. Is it going to happen? Yes. Do I see it happening anytime soon? No. But times are changing. And I think that's the important thing to remember. And also to remember, if this is important to you, write letters, get on top of all of this. Okay. Daisy asks, 10 years into the future, what will life in the USA look like? And so I don't know if you guys remember, but, I've done a lot of work for the government in think tanks. I started when I was 14. And actually what I specialize in, and this part I'm not sure if I mentioned, is looking 20 years into the future. So I'll try to cut it in half to give you what I see. And, and I still belong to these think tanks. I'm still asked what I think. I've been doing this for a long time now. I think we're going to have much better infrastructure, for one. I think that's going to be improved. And I think what's greatly going to be improved is public transportation. Because let's face it, that's where we really differ from Europe, right? The way we get around. Everybody has to have a car, and that's so difficult unless you live in a city, right? And then, I know where I live, the big city near me has had some issues recently with their public transportation. I think more people are going to be working from home. I think, this pandemic has sort of changed things. It's sort of turned things around, and people are enjoying that freedom, not being chained to a desk in an office. Now, I know last time I said this, a lot of you were like, so I haven't said it probably for a year or so, but nothing's changed because we're going towards fourth density, and money doesn't exist in fourth density because money divides people. You have haves and have-nots, and it means that some people go without the things that they need. And so in 10 years, we'll still have money. But I do think that we will be getting rid of coins. We saw during the pandemic, I know where I live, there was signs everywhere saying we don't have coins. So I think coins by 10 years will be gone because we will eventually go to cashless, because eventually we'll go to moneyless, which I know is hard to imagine now because we're so not ready for it. We're not going to be moneyless in our lifetime. We're not. Or even in, in 20 years, we're not going to be completely cash free or anything. Don't think that. But do I think that we're going to be using more cards, debit cards, credit cards, having direct links to our bank accounts, that sort of thing, PayPal, Venmo, all that. Yes, I think that's going to sort of rule. I think in terms of politics, there's going to be less division and more bipartisanship because we are heading towards fourth density. We're heading towards a time of understanding. And I think there'll be enough challenges, let's say, that pop up that will require everybody to pull together. I know these challenges, we don't like them. We don't like pandemics. We don't like war. We don't like inflation. We don't like these things. But at the same time, it does force us to pull together and to unite. And I wasn't quite sure how to word this, but better social services, better safety nets for people. And a big part of what I see is having crisis centers. I've been seeing this for a while now. So I'm going to say this is something that I've been consistently seeing that it's going to be happening. Because if you're having a crisis, you have to call 911 or that's it, right? We don't have something else really. There's not a lot that we can fall back on, that we can go to for support. What if somebody's just really distraught because they just went through a bad breakup? What if somebody's distraught because they were just evicted? There's a million different things. Their pet is sick. They don't know what to do. We need something that's more encompassing without involving police, because police aren't necessary in most of these cases. Police need to deal with criminal things. And we need to stop taking, we need to take the burden away from the police is what I'm trying to say, because they're doing social services, I would say, more than half of their time. But if we had a true crisis center, like, look, you can call here and there's like these resources. There's people that you can call, because right now we're divvying everything up, right? Well, there's a hotline for this. There's a hotline for that. But they don't really have any money backing them to actually do anything about anything. So I foresee having a true blue crisis center. And I've been seeing that for a long time. So I really do think that that's going to come true. Tiny homes. I think tiny homes are the way of the future. That is something that I am looking to invest in. That's how much I believe, and like that's going to be the way of the future. Rent is extremely high, mortgages are high. A lot of people can't save enough to put down on a house, or save enough for the first, last, and security deposit. We need something else. Or if they can, then it's really difficult for them to maintain all of that. So I'm definitely seeing a lot of tiny homes. And the other thing that I'm seeing is community gardens. A lot of, say towns having some sort of community gardens, because that would take away some of that burden from the food pantries, because our food pantries are so burdened right now. So I am seeing a lot of that. But let me pull a couple of cards, Daisy and everyone else, to see what else we need to know for 10 years into the future for the U.S. Oh, and I should mention universal health care. That's part of, that would solve a lot of problems, wouldn't it? That would go a long ways in crisis situations. Imagine if everybody had access to mental health care. Imagine that. Imagine a country where we would all have access to the counseling and the therapy that we needed. Maybe we would see less crime. Okay. So we go through like this plotting and planning phase, trying to figure things out, trying to come up with new ways of doing things. And that's perfect. The obstacle will be some of these entrepreneurs, because the King of Wands, he's like the ultimate entrepreneur, isn't he? But you know what? They can oppose, they can do what they want, but it's not going to last, because look at this. The truth is coming out. Here's the sword of truth. People are going to start to see reality for what it is. The truth is coming out, which allows us to move forward, to take control of our own destinies. There's only two cards that talk about taking control. That's the Magician and the Chariot. So taking control of our own destinies, our own fates. And then look at this. Oh my gosh, I love this. The Justice card. Things becoming more balanced, more equal, more fair, moral, ethical, just. And then my card for the US. I mean, you just don't get better than this, right? The card of like faith, hope, trust. So I think things will greatly improve in 10 years. And I know some of you are asking me about, the virus. I don't think it's going anywhere, but I don't necessarily seeing it getting worse, I should say. Like, it's not going to disappear, but I don't see it just wreaking havoc. I do think China is cruelly, very cruelly, overreacting. I mean, those dog robots and the drones saying, don't give in to your desires for freedom, and the people howling at night. I mean, and this is why I barely watch the news, because it's absolutely haunting me to listen to the people cry out in hunger and needing medicine and having their pets ripped away from them. And I mean, it's just awful. Oh, okay. Moving on. Celtic Crone asks, what major changes are coming to the U.S. due to climate change? Will there be mass migration to the upper Midwest and the Northeast? Yeah, and I think, look at the tornado situation. I mean, those poor people, if they're not getting a tornado, they're getting hit with these heavy storms. I think California is increasingly becoming more and more difficult to live there. Michael my fiance Michael got a fantastic job offer with an amazing company. But we would have to relocate there. And I was like, and even he's like, yeah, because the repercussions of living places like that, because I've lived on Cape Cod. I know what owning a house on Cape Cod means. Your home insurance is through the roof, right? Because basically you're considered waterfront property no matter how far away you are from the water, right? You're in a flood zone. So yeah, I think pulling like in and up, I think you got it right. I think your intuition is guiding you correctly. But here's what's going to be the difference between where people go. I think it's really going to divide people that can afford to go to better places versus people that are now stuck in some of these places that just keep getting ravished by, hurricanes, wildfires, tornadoes, these terrible windstorms. I mean, I've never seen so many windstorms in my whole life. So, to live in the Northeast, I can assure you it is not inexpensive. I mean, on some of our Facebook pages for my town, people are like, I'm just moving here from Tennessee or Georgia or Texas or whatever, or like Idaho or Iowa. And, because they are coming this way. You're right, Celtic Chrome. They are already starting the migration with some of these people. And they're like, is that really the correct price for X whatever? And it's like, yeah, that's actually what we do pay here. So that's the thing. It's going to be, what can you afford, unfortunately. So let's just take a look at, changes in the U.S. due to climate change. Let's pull a few cards on that. Because that is tough, isn't it? I'm just happy that it's starting to warm up. I hope you all saw the pictures that I put in the community tab of my walk. All the beautiful flowers that are coming up right now. Springtime in New England is gorgeous indeed. So we're going to try to persevere. We're going to end up feeling a bit like this character, right? He has a bandage on his head and he's like, oh boy, he's just trying to put one foot in front of the other. And that's how some of these folks are going to feel. And that's what's going to lead to people moving. But it's also going to jack up the prices of the houses too. I mean, I can't imagine here in New England, the prices getting any more. That's why I didn't go after that house in Salem, they want double of what the house's value is. You know, it doesn't make sense. People are going to be pulling back, withdrawing, retreating. So that makes me feel like, okay, yeah, they're going to be going from where they are. They're going from point A to point B, which is going to sort of overpopulate some areas. One of the things I've gotten a lot, like intuitively, is Arizona is in for a real boom. You know, as hot as Arizona is, right? Because I remember going there to see the Grand Canyon, and boy, was it hot. It was 105 every day. And it's the desert, right? So it's like the sun is just pounding down. But I do see Arizona, you know, having a real boom, and which is great if you own a house out there and you want to sell it. You know, I think you'd make a lot of money. A lot of anxiety, you know, so this climate change is going to cause a lot of anxiety, worry, stress, all of that. But people will form new communities. This is the card of community, people pulling together. And then I really like that we finish up with this card, celebrating a happy home. So changes will happen, but you know, not all changes are bad. Sometimes change is just change, right? It is what it is. You know, and people have to make the individual choices for themselves. But I think what's going to make the choice for a lot of people is going to have to do with what can you afford for insurance? Because it is heavy in certain places, right? I mean, that insurance is incredible. Let me see. Next question. JMZS asked me to look at the future of cryptocurrency. So I don't see crypto going anywhere. I don't see it going anywhere. Like, it's not going to end. It's a thing. It's going to be long lasting. I don't see it going away overnight or something like that. No, I think it's here to stay. You know, whether you like the idea or not, I don't think it's leaving us anytime soon. But let's see what the cards have to say. You know, okay, I get the Judgment card, and I think I know why I'm getting it. Because there's really no laws that are keeping people safe, right? You know, there's a lot of scams that are going on. People are losing a lot of money, okay? So I think, you know, legally our politicians need to regulate this. And so that also kind of makes me feel like, okay, yeah, it really is staying because I'm seeing regulations. The obstacle, fear of the unknown. And I think for a lot of people, this is just very foreign territory. We don't know what this is all about. But, you know, once again, we get the government stepping in. So do I see it staying? Yes. But I'm seeing it becoming heavily regulated. You know, just the other day, there was a story on TV about a man that had lost his life savings through a scam. And they're even doing it through like the dating apps, which I thought was interesting. You know, they're not really trying to date some of these people. They're just trying to get money for these crypto scams. And here's the money coming in slowly, reliably, predictably. So yeah, so JM, I think it's here to stay, but it's going to be heavily regulated. I think that's the change. Be Serene asked a great question. I don't know if you know my story, Be Serene, if that's why you're asking this. But is our government currently using psychics or mediums to obtain intel on the Russians or the GOP? Well, our government that does this is neither Democratic or Republican, first of all. So they wouldn't be spying on, like, say, the GOP specifically, but they could be, you know, looking at certain people, certain situations, but they would be doing that too with Democrats if they thought that there was need. But do they use mediums? No, they have no need to channel the dead. And psychics, they use, because as you know or don't know, you know, I do work as a military remote viewer. And even though the government closed down, you know, that part of the Pentagon, it's still very much alive and working and functioning. And yes, they still use military remote viewers, not just to look at the Russians, but to look at all sorts of things, things throughout history, things that are missing, to find criminals. There's a lot of success with trying to find criminals that are hiding out. So yeah, they always have. It's something that we actually learned from the Russians, literally, back in the 60s. A Russian had immigrated over here that was a remote viewer. And yeah, that's how it all got started with us. And so, yeah, I think be serene. Your intuition is correct on that one. Alicia asks a great question that I know a lot of you have on your mind. And that is, will Finland and Sweden be members of NATO? My intuition is saying yes. Absolutely. Let's see what the cards say. But I feel like, yes, they will become members of NATO. And I think it's overdue anyways. I think they deserve a seat at the table. They have a role to play. Let's take a look. Okay. So the first card, interesting. The card of like affluence and independence, financial independence. So that tells me, because it's also Pentacles, right? So it's a nice grounded card. That it's a yes card. So when you're looking at like yes and no's, some cards are yeses, and this is definitely a yes card because it's a positive card. There's really no downside to this card. It's a lovely card. So yes. The obstacle though is there's going to be those that overthink and overanalyze the whole situation. Should they, shouldn't they? They'll all be going back and forth, back and forth. What would be the repercussions? All of that sort of thing. But it's not going to happen quickly. So I'm not convinced it's going to happen this month or next month, because this is a very slow moving card. This character is laying flat on his back. So it's going to take a bit, but then look, we get the Lover's card. So, here's Finland, here's Sweden coming together. We can imagine NATO's at the top here, coming together. This is also a card of like contracts, negotiations, and that sort of thing. So, the Lover's card also is another card when you're looking at yeses and nos and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's a good card. It's a positive card. So yes. So let us finish up with Radley Valentine's Angel Answers. This will be for a timing question. When will fill in the blank? Okay. So take a deep breath, center yourself. And which card do you feel most drawn to? 1, 2, or 3? Okay, here we go. Card number 1 says, in the near future. In the near future. So whatever it is that you were asking, in the near future. So maybe in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Card number 2 says, wait. Maybe it's not quite the right time. Hold your horses. And then number 3, it's not the right time. So maybe redirect what it is you're looking for, or use the law of attraction to see if you can sort of push your energy towards your goal, towards your desires, so you can manifest what you want. Okay. So I hope that this was an interesting video for all of you. It was a pleasure to make it. And once again, I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Bye, everyone.